Welcome to the CrossFit Canada podcast, telling the stories of Canadian affiliate owners and coaches. And I'm excited because our guest today is our first full-time coach. We'll get into the nuances of that. We have Mehan from NCR. Now, we always start off with question of the day. Like if you were a drop-in at the affiliate, you're going to, even though I already technically just did this, you're going to introduce yourself, your affiliate, and let's go first CrossFit workout, and maybe that'll tie us into there. But I was like, hearing your first ever CrossFit workout that you remember.
Ooh, okay. So, yeah, I'm Sam. I am a full-time CrossFit / nutrition coach / programmer at CrossFit NCR. I've been there for about 4 years. First CrossFit workout, I'm going to be honest with you. I remember a few movements, but I do not remember the whole workout.
Okay.
It took me, no exaggeration, 3 years to build up the courage to walk into an affiliate after I knew what CrossFit was. I do remember, however, that it had kettlebells, it had box jumps, and it had running, which admittedly are 3 movements I am not a huge fan of, but I'm trying to get better at. But it was good enough that it kept me coming back. So yeah, that would be the first one.
Was it, then $50 bonus question, was it at NCR or was it at a different affiliate?
No, so it was at a different affiliate, CrossFit Liberty Village, which I don't know is affiliated at anymore. But I did the Toronto business finance thing for a little while. And so that's kind of where my CrossFit origin story started. If I'm being honest with you, before I actually walked into affiliate, this is weird, is the first workout I ever heard of was Murph. So I tried to do Murph every Saturday for like 2 years. I just wanted to finish it. I heard that finishing it in under an hour was like this really cool fitness thing. And I didn't understand CrossFit or the methodology at all. So I would try it every Saturday and I would get time capped every single time. But so I guess that was kind of my first CrossFit workout.
So,
and yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. So you because you said time capped, but I'm guessing, did you just, when you were attempting it every Saturday, you would just set a 1 hour timer and then wherever you got to, you would cut yourself off, or what was that?
You got it, right? So,
okay.
You know, I don't think at the time I had a good knowledge of training and fitness and CrossFit, but I had seen a CrossFit documentary in like 2015. And I was like, wow, this is like the coolest thing ever, right? And then randomly on Instagram or Twitter at the time, I saw someone post this CrossFit workout called Murph. And it was, hey, if you can finish this in under an hour, you're pretty dang fit. So I was like, I think I'm fit. I think I could do it, you know? So I'd run the mile, do the 100 pull-ups, do the 200 push-ups. And I'd always get, you know, I'd stop myself at 60 minutes and I'd always be somewhere in those push-ups or maybe early on in the air squats. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't do it, right? It sounds like such a simple workout.
Yeah.
And it seems easy at first, but when you get through it, it's a gnarly workout. So I guess that would sort of be my first experience with CrossFit.
Yeah, very cool. My first CrossFit workout was 12.1, which was 7 minutes of burpees. That's a easy one to remember. It just always then has a special place in my heart. So you, as you said, so where are you from originally? I mean, you said you did the Toronto Finance Bureau, but give us a little backstory from there. Where you from, and then where did you kind of post-secondary and all that stuff?
Totally. So I grew up, born and raised in Ottawa. I went to the University of Ottawa. I think like many young adults, I struggled with finding a true passion in life, right? So I ended up doing a bachelor in economics. Not really sure why I chose that route. I was kind of thinking, you know, business, maybe that's somewhere I want to go. So did the bachelor in economics and graduated from there. And I had the opportunity to do a master's in economics. Again, not really sure what I wanted to do with my life, but I had this wonderful opportunity. I was going to get a scholarship to do at the University of Ottawa. It was around family. So I decided to pursue that. I'd say throughout that kind of experience, I think in my initial stages is like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to be like a foreign officer, like a diplomat or something like that? I really love to travel, the international route. So I ended up studying, finishing my master's, and then spending a year in Hong Kong working at the Canadian consulate in Hong Kong. And that was kind of how I finished out my post-secondary education. It was a really cool internship there, trying to bring Canadian businesses to Hong Kong, which ultimately led me to Toronto. where I worked for Export Development Canada, helping small businesses kind of grow their sales globally. So that's kind of how I ended up in Toronto for 4 or 5 years before CrossFit kind of even became a knowledge to me.
What's the timeline of that? Like what years are we talking here?
So I was in Asia in 2016, and then at the end of 2016, I moved to Toronto. So I spent the kind of 2016 to 2020 in Toronto, and it was just it was a weird time in my life. You know, I was kind of mid 20s. You know, honestly, I felt like a pretty successful kid. I had this big, you know, finance government job in Toronto. Had the whole bachelor condo thing. You know, getting to go to fancy dinners and all that kind of stuff. It was also a time when I had discovered CrossFit. So, you know, I was doing the CrossFit thing on my own, a Good Life, or, you know, entering an affiliate and going a couple times a week. But, you know, the flip side to that kind of wonderful life that everybody wants is that I would just, I was a sad kid, you know, all the kind of financial gain or status gain I got from this job or cars or apartments, I came to find out ultimately didn't really provide me with that much joy. So it just led me to frankly, a really dark time in my life, where, you know, I was addicted to alcohol. I was anxious. I was depressed. So, you know, from the outside, you would have looked at me, who was like, you know, probably a healthy kid, doing well for himself, supporting himself. But internally, I was struggling deeply. So that was kind of a tumultuous time in my life from 2016 to 2020, which ultimately let me move back to Ottawa 2020. And I moved back in with my parents around 29 years old. And, you know, I had this epiphany one day at kind of one of the darkest moments of my life, that I couldn't do the 9-to-5 desk job the rest of my life. What I did know, however, is that there was this thing, CrossFit, that I've been trying for a year, that it was like one of the coolest things to me. And truly the only thing that brought me any sort of peace or joy throughout the day. And I decided in one moment that I was like, I'm gonna be a CrossFit coach. And I didn't really know how that was gonna happen, how I was gonna do it. But I knew that what I needed in life was to pursue something that like set my soul on fire. And I felt like CrossFit at the time was gonna be that thing.
That's very cool. Especially like, you know, you'll see Jason Ackerman post a lot about like just a coach, like, and there's so much personal fulfillment that can come from it that I want to unpack a little more. But so you were going, how long were you at Liberty Village for? And what was that kind of routine like for you?
I think I was there for about a year.
Okay. Were you going regularly or just dropping in, or what was that like?
I was trying to. I had an unlimited membership, you would call it. I was probably going twice, 3 times a week. The reality is my mental health wasn't allowing me to make it there as much as I wanted to. But when I did go, I had a blast, right? Like, great coaches there. I was in the initial stages of, you know, figuring out what CrossFit was, what all the movements were, all that kind of stuff. So I'd usually go after work 2 or 3 nights a week. And, you know, frankly, like, at first it was hard for me because, one, I was intimidated, right? Like, it's like all these super fit people, they're all friends already. Like, who am I? Like, I'm just, I'm pretty introverted. So it was kind of scary. CrossFit sometimes can be expensive, right? That's the reality too. And when you live in a city where everything else is expensive, it's one of those things that's like hard to wrap your mind around. Like, hey, I'm going to pay $200 a month for what? To work out? It's kind of strange because you don't really understand the long-term value of it just yet. But yeah, I was at CrossFit Liberty Village for maybe like a year, going twice to 3 times a week. And then there was a point before 2020 where I just, and like many members, I just stopped going, right? It's like, you're paying this membership, you're not going for whatever reason. For me, it was mental health related. And so I just went back to working out in my condo gym and had to cancel the membership. And it truly broke my heart, right? It was like this one thing that was giving me joy, but I just couldn't do it at the time. So that was kind of my first affiliate, CrossFit Liberty Village. And can't say enough good things about it because it's kind of where I started. But yeah, I guess early 2019 is when I stopped going there.
Yeah, because I mean, you said it like it's, and I'm sure we'll get into this later on in like your coaching style and things like that. Like, we know the benefits of the end results of a class or a workout, right? But we still have to go in, and I try to work on this as well in my own empathy, going in with empathy, and like starting the workout is hard. And
Totally.
meaning like just showing up to class and things like that, and
Yeah.
you've seen that. Has that translated into your own coaching style, or like how you interact, or bringing the empathy in?
Yeah, I think so, right? Like I try to reflect on my past experiences as I'm coaching, right? Like whether it's an athlete who's struggling with consistency, or it's an athlete that's struggling with diet, or it's an athlete that's struggling with some sort of depression or anxiety, right? I mean, at first it's difficult, right? Because you're like, you're here, let's just work out, let's go hard.
Right.
But you got to kind of reframe it and look at it in the lens of like, hey, Sam, you've been there before, right? Like you remember how hard it was. You remember how hard it was for you to walk into a gym for the first time. You remember how hard it was for you to go do your 20th workout because you just weren't feeling it. You had a late night or work's bogged down. So I just try to remind myself of that and be present, right? Whenever I'm feeling maybe frustrated with an athlete, or I'm lacking the understanding of how to communicate with an athlete better so they have a better experience, I try to look at the lens of how did you struggle, Sam, and what was it like for you during that? And then maybe you can approach those kind of one-on-one interactions with a little bit more empathy and clarity, and just make it more positive for the athlete.
Yeah, and I mean, because we know things to be true in the sense of like we're good at reminding athletes how far they've come, like how far you've come. Remember when you
Yeah.
did this, and it's like we almost have to like, hey, are we listening to ourselves as we say it? It's like, look how far this person has come.
Yep.
Give them a little grace. And I mean, especially if you're interacting with people daily, meaning separate from a coach who might coach two different days a week or one day a week, but come to the gym multiple times. It's like those of us in the
Totally.
trenches every day. It's like, man, we're back in the trenches again.
Totally. It's a good place to be, though. We call it trenches, and I'll call it trenches myself, but like I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I truly
For,
wouldn't.
for sure. So, but getting back to that timeline, so
Yep.
moved home in 2020. Um, was that pandemic related? And then like just in terms of the way the whole world was going about, and then when did you step foot into, was it NCR, or did you kind of, what I mean, stepping stone in to where you are now? Talk us through
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So 2020, I was in Ottawa for a work conference. So,
Okay.
spending some time with my parents and all that kind of stuff. And not to get too dark, but there was a point in my life where I hit rock bottom. Like I said, we all get there.
Mhm.
And I spent some time in a psych ward, just
Yeah.
reevaluating what my priorities were, trying to get healthy again, and trying to like just break through like this depression and anxiety I was feeling. And in that moment was when I was like, I'm going to be a CrossFit coach. Like, I want to coach the CrossFit Games champ one day. Like, that's kind of what got me into it. It was like these cool documentaries. I'd watch old regionals, old CrossFit Games, and like that's what I did in my spare time. Like, I was the nerd that would just like watch like the first heat of a random event that didn't matter with athletes that were never going to go anywhere, just because I loved it. I loved it. So, during that time, as I was getting healthier, I was talking to my parents, and I told them like, hey, I'm going to take a year off from work. I'm going to try this CrossFit thing. I don't know, guys, how I'm going to do it, but I want to do it. And, like often people will say the pandemic was the worst time of their life. And I get that. I truly understand that. But the reality is, for me, it was like the great reset and probably the best years of my life. So I moved back in with my parents, 29 years old, 30 years old. So I was that was hard in itself, right? Like your ego's going like, I should be on my own. I should be married. I should have kids. But I was headed back to my parents' basement. And that's when I was looking for a CrossFit gym in Ottawa. And I just searched CrossFit gym. And the closest one to my parents' place was CrossFit NCR. So I'm like, hey, let's go. Let's go check it out. So I went there, I think it was March or April of 2020, and I went for my first class, and it was awesome. It was like packed. The gym was big. There was a bunch of fit people. I was like, damn, I really love this. So I did one class, and then all the gyms closed because of the pandemic. So I got in one class at NCR, and from that time, I just started doing the virtual classes. I'm like, hey, if I'm going to be a coach, no excuses. Like I got to still train. I got to learn. I got to work out. So I started doing the virtual classes just through the computer, and no one knew who I was because I was new to the gym, right? So I'd put my
Yeah.
scores up on the leaderboard, like, who's this Sam guy? Like, we've never met him before. So that was kind of my introduction to NCR, right? And it's like a testament to them. It's like, hey, they kept me hooked through virtual coaching, which is pretty cool, right? And kept me coming back.
Had you seen either old regionals or games footage of Paul?
Oh yeah.
And did you fangirl?
I don't know about fangirl. I think like I didn't know when I first started going there, I probably didn't know that I had seen Paul at the games, right? So it was kind of like one of those things where like you see all the banners.
I mean, you did have to watch the first heat to see him at the game.
Yeah, exactly. But there's so many athletes, right? Like seeing him I'm sure I've seen him overhead squat 365 and be like, who the hell is that guy? You know what I mean? And just like push press it off his back. And but then you kind of forget about it because there's so many athletes, and then you see the banners, and I'm like, let me go check this guy out again on YouTube. And then you're like, oh, it's that guy, God. And then you all of a sudden just get a little nervous when you go to class. You know, just get a little nervous because it comes with a bit of prestige or respect, that sort of thing. So, and then I try to watch like Reza Mashkouri at regionals too, and he'd be in one of the first heats, at regionals. So yeah, I definitely would go geek out and watch those guys and just learn a bit about them and their competitive career and all that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing 4 years basically of the pandemic. When did you start coaching? When did your coaching journey start at NCR? Because what's cool about your scenario, there's the obvious, but you in a moment, from what I'm hearing, was like, I'm going all in on this thing.
Yep.
But especially, I'm in Ontario as well. For those who don't know, like during the pandemic, Ontario had stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And that messed with a lot of people. So for you to like be like, I'm doing this thing and to stay focused on it is really like, it means you in your heart of hearts, you were like, no, I'm committed to this thing.
Yeah. So, I think I committed to myself in 2020, and then I signed up for an L1, and the L1 just kept getting pushed, right? Because of the pandemic, there was restrictions. So I think the L1 ended up getting pushed all the way to September 2020, which was kind of like 8 months after I had hoped to do it. So I did the L1, and I think I was still kind of quiet about the fact that I wanted to maybe coach at NCR one day. But I was always training, always improving, trying to learn. I was like obsessing over the L1. I probably like memorized it. I read it 1,000 times just because like it kept getting pushed. So I just kept studying and studying and studying and studying. And how I started coaching was I followed the suggestions. Like I started coaching my family. Like we bought equipment, and in my basement, my father turned 65 today, and I started training him 5 years ago in our basement, right? Like just simple stuff, air squats, rowing, deadlifts. So I would ask him, hey guys, like, I know you don't really work out. This is going to be my thing. Would you mind if you gave me an hour every day and I could just coach you? And so that's what I would do. I'd write up like a little lesson plan. I'd write up a little lesson plan for them. I'd bring my mom through it. I'd bring my dad through it. I'd bring my brothers through it sometimes. And that's how it started. And I just accumulated, I think it was like 200 hours or whatever the L1 suggests before you do your L2, like 250 hours of just coaching friends and family. I started doing friends, meet them at the park during the pandemic. And we just go to like, there's a local park called Mooney's Bay that has like pull-up bars and hills you can just run up of. My parents have a little like cottage community. I did something for them. I would do stuff for my dad's like work colleagues. So I was really just like grinding, stepping completely outside my comfort zone, and just training family and friends for free. So that's really what it was, and that's how I started.
That's like I'm making notes. I'm like, what was the timestamp on that? Because that's so cool. Like, one of my not favorite sayings, but just it's like overnight success takes a lifetime.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you look, because, you know, so you got your level 1 in 2020.
Yeah.
But if I'm understanding correct, you now hold your level 3. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Right.
So,
And, well, I was just gonna say, like, and we'll get onto that, but like, you know, 5 years is a short window for most folks to get their level 3, but it's like you started from day one. It's not like I'm gonna wait till I'm ready. I'm not gonna do these things. It's like you're like, no, because one thing I love about CrossFit as a methodology in the level 1 guide is the answers to the test are in the test or
totally.
in the book, right? Like,
Yeah.
whatever you want out of CrossFit, especially to be a coach or an affiliate owner, the answers to the test are in the book.
Yep.
And you're like, I read the book 5 times and I'm going to listen to it.
Totally. And like there's always this imposter syndrome, right? Because like I feel not fast track per se, but I would like my timeline is definitely accelerated than most coaches. So,
Mhm.
you know, I got those 250 hours and that's when I approached Rez. Rez at the time was director of an event called CF24. Essentially what it is, it's a 1 day a year. Gyms across Canada do a fitness fundraiser to raise money for Special Olympics. And I'm like, okay, I got to get my foot in the door somehow. I got to keep coaching people. It can't just be my parents all the time, right? Like,
Mhm.
Rez, can I help you out with this? And so I got on as just like a program support, right? Help them organize, help them program for Special Olympics athletes, help set up this really cool event every year where we raise thousands of dollars. And through that process, I was like, hey, Rez, I've signed up for my L2. Um, you know, the L2, technically you should have group class coaching. Like I would love to do the internship at NCR. Like if there's any way I could shadow to start, I'll do it for free. I'll do it at any time you need me to. Like my
Yeah.
schedule is free. Like I'm dedicated to this. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So Rez gave me that first opportunity. And that's what it was. It was an internship to start, right? So we would do like 10 to 20 hours of just like shadowing Rez and Paul coach, just like sitting in the corner watching them. What do they do well? You know, what can I mimic? Like, what can I take away from these guys? And that kind of evolved into co-coaching classes. So getting comfortable, like teaching a warm up or a, you know, specific movement, like a pull up. And then it evolves into me just coaching by myself. Right. And them evaluating me and seeing how that works. So I went through that internship with my L1. And as soon as I finished, the beautiful thing was my L2 was like the next weekend. So it really gave me the confidence because I was super nervous for the L2. It gave
Mhm.
me the confidence that I needed to go into that L2 being like, hey, maybe I don't have thousands of hours coaching experience like all these other guys, but I've been taught by the best. And you're going to be okay and you're going to fail. That's okay. You're also going to learn so much. And that's what I'm all about. Like, I just want to learn. Like, if I fail, that's okay. I love feedback. Give it to me. Like, tell me what I did wrong. Tell me what I did well. And I want to be better. So 2021, I got the chance to do the L2. It went well. And a week later, NCR asked me to be a coach at their gym. And
Okay.
I shed some tears. Like it's one of like those moments in my life where I remember sitting in my car and like Rez gave me a phone call and like asked me to be a coach at the gym. And it was just like, it's different, right? Because like when you make progress at a career that maybe you don't enjoy, it's great. You get more money, you know, you get like accolades, you get a new title and it's like cool, but it's not like mind blowing. But when like Rez just called me to tell me that I'm coaching just like one class a week, you know, like it's nothing. It's one class.
Yeah.
Like I must have experienced the most joy I've ever experienced in my life, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I get what you mean because again, as you already said, like you lived in Hong Kong for a year working at the Canadian embassy,
Yeah,
and then you get a call from Rez juxtaposition with that, like, hey, you're gonna coach Tuesdays at 4:30, 5:30.
that's totally what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
and that moment was better for me than anything I'd ever experienced. So
and that's what like and that's the thing. It's like, you know, the mindset obviously, but then the passion. Like the passion will always drive you forward, right? And like
yeah,
so I am curious because so do you recall in that internship process, like being able to sit down and watch those two? Because at this point, two seminar staff going from coaching your 200 hours outside of an affiliate getting in there and then being able to sit and just fly on the wall and observe. Do you recall early on what your first observances were, in the sense of like, wow, these guys do this really well, or I can't believe how they do this, you know?
Yeah. I think the big theme is that they're professionals. Like, they're not just coaching to get a free membership. They're not just coaching to make money. They're like truly like, this is what we do. We're masters at our craft. And if you're going to work here, Sam, you're going to be a master at your craft. So like, even when I had my L2, I would just sit and watch Paul coach. Like, his just like presence and attitude, command of the room, his cueing, his just like everything about it. I would just sit there and like stretch and foam roll and just like watch it and like soak it in. Like, what else do I
Mhm.
have to do? I want to be the best coach I could possibly be, right? And I have like this level 3 and like res and like these 2 seminar staff members that I get to just soak in every day. So what else would I do? Would I keep working out? No. Would I go home? No. I'm just going to sit here and watch them. So oftentimes, if I'd be coaching in the evenings, I would just want to take tips or just like best practices. So I would do their class, the 7 a.m. class, and then I would stay and then I'd watch them coach 9:30, or I'd watch them coach noon. And yeah, the big thing is just like, we're coaches first. So technique, safety, presence and attitude, like all those fundamentals of a coach, right?
Yeah.
And just being like, we're going to be a professional. It's not just a side gig or a throwaway job. Like, this is what we do for life, and we make people's lives better. And that's what I wanted to do.
Well, and I think at that time, was Pete there as well? Like, so you had it on all fronts basically at that point.
Yeah. So I think Pete had just left, had moved
Okay.
on to his next adventure before I had showed up. So when I first
Okay.
started training at NCR, yeah, Pete was there too. And Pete gave me my L1, Pete gave me my L2. So I'm lucky enough to have gotten a lot of good knowledge from him as well.
Yeah.
But when I started coaching there, yeah, Pete wasn't there. So it was just,
Okay.
it was Reza and Paul at the time.
And
Yeah.
I think you nailed, like, what your point about your first thing you noticed is that they were professionals, because what I was drawn to is what you said, like, your first class there, you were blown away, like the place was packed,
Yeah.
right? Like, so it was like, it was packed, it was a vibe, like, but those things, I believe, are a result of professionalism.
Totally.
You can't fill the house and then try to be professional about it. Like, you have to be professional, and as owners, it can be easier to maybe like not be professional that day.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I and it's
Totally.
and I'm drawn to this more because, like, one of my phone lock screens was literally just be an effing pro. And like, that just was on my phone, because like, knowing like sometimes being a professional is doing the things when you don't want to do it.
Totally. Yeah. And I think that's like any job, right? Like, some days you just wake up and you just don't want to do the thing. Right. And
Yeah.
like, I always say that I never truly feel like I'm working. Like, I honestly have this weird, unique life where I love my job and I don't ever feel like I'm going to work.
Mhm.
And like, people don't understand that. And I still explain, yeah, sometimes like, listen, I wake up, I'm like, coaching, like, it's gonna be hard today. Because whatever's going on in my life. I'm
Yeah.
tired, there's personal stuff going on. And I know coaching is gonna be a little tougher today, but I never really truly feel like I'm working. And like, going back to like Paul and Rez and like seeing the community they built, I'm like, there's no way that they could have built this community if they weren't professionals, right? The churn would be crazy. People would be coming in and coming out, but they show up every day, whether they're having a good day, bad day, and they coach the hell out of a class, and they give people like a really peaceful, joyful hour every day, right? And so like, I would just watch that and I just try to live to that standard. And I knew I would make mistakes along the way, totally. Like, they're always giving me feedback, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But I'm like, if these guys can do that with their coaching, and maybe one day I also want to be an affiliate owner and create like a beautiful community like they have, I have to not imitate and do exactly what they do, but I definitely have to figure out like what the secret sauce is. And I truly think it's just being like very passionate, kind humans, loving what they do, and then wanting to be the best coaches they can be. So those are kind of some takeaways from that.
So we joked that it was like the Tuesday evening classes, but you got on the coaching schedule.
Yep.
How do you start to baby step into turning it into more of again, like a full-time job?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing it
So
was incremental. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, it was incremental. The easy stuff at first was classes, right? So, you get your 1 or 2 shifts on the schedule, and then you pick up classes whenever you can, right? Like I had nothing else going on. I, just to backstep a bit, I had decided after I got the job with NCR that I was going to permanently end my position with the government, albeit I was on leave, so I wasn't really working, but it was like, okay, this is what I'm doing full time. I'm going to commit to this. So any shifts that people needed to give up, I would take it. Didn't matter if it was 6 a.m., 8 p.m. at night. Didn't matter if I had a 14-hour gap between my shifts. I spent the whole day at the gym. Like I honestly would spend all day at the gym, and I would just pick up shifts. And then you start to realize in that you're like, I can't make a living doing this.
Yeah.
Like this, I don't. Like you don't get paid enough per class. There's not enough classes. And if you did coach every class on the schedule, you get totally burnt out. So you start to realize that and you have like a moment of panic. But then you're like, okay, if I want to do this, I just have to be like my own entrepreneur. Like I got to figure out how to do this. So that's when I was like, hey, Rez, can I start like personal training people? Like, like there's always inquiries. And yes, we believe in group classes work best, but there's always people that want that one-on-one attention and they don't want to be in a group setting. So I started doing PT. So personal training, not many people, 2 or 3, I'd see them once or twice a week. There's one gentleman I'm still a regular. I see him 3 times a week, 4 years later. So that was kind of like step 2. I was like, okay, I got a few group classes. I got some personal training clients, and it was going well, right? Like I was, making some money now. It's like, okay, now I'm making money. This is good. But I think it still wasn't enough. Not that it was just not sustainable. You know what I mean? Like at this point, I was still at my parents' place, not paying much rent, didn't have many expenses. So it was like, okay, I'm sort of doing this. It's more of like a part-time gig right now, but I need to make it more full-time gig. So that's when kind of all the different little avenues start to branch out. And again, credit to Rez and Paul for giving me every opportunity. The next thing to kind of flourish there was just more responsibilities around the gym. So giving me, facility manager title. So making sure, the gym is stocked, it's clean, there's paper towel, we got all the chalk we need, and, just managing the facility from day to day. And so that was another avenue. And then the next one, which was big for me, was programming for people. Because, and I may have mentioned it, I got into CrossFit because I loved the CrossFit Games. Like I wanted to coach the CrossFit Games champ, and that's still like a dream of mine. Ultimately, come to find out that the affiliate is so much more rewarding. Like working with just regular people is like the best part of it, right?
Yeah.
But I want to start programming for people to make them better, and hopefully, like program for a competitive athlete someday. So, there's a few athletes around the gym that just wanted a bit of extra programming, and I started there and getting some income off of that as well, and trying to help people achieve their dreams. And, like at first, again, you feel like not a fraud, but just like that imposter syndrome. Like, what do I know about programming for an athlete or a competitive athlete? But like, the reality is like, I'm such a programming geek. Like I watch Get With the Programming. I watch like Shut Up and Scribble religiously. Like I just geek out on that stuff. I love it. I obsess over it. And, 4 years later, I have an athlete competing in semifinals this weekend and competing at the NorCal Classic in June. So it's like, it's really cool to see like the evolution of that as well. So that was another thing was programming. And then, honestly, the big one to like tie everything together to turn this into like a full-time gig was nutrition coaching.
Okay.
Admittedly, I don't have a bachelor's degree in exercise science or nutrition, right? Like I'm not a certified nutritionist. What I do have, however, is like 30 years of experimenting with every nutrition protocol, having the ups and downs, like when I was a kid, my parents, God, they loved me, but they showed me their love through food. All right. Like I was the overweight kid when I was 17 through 20. Okay. When I got into health and fitness around 20, I think I went the opposite way. So I overcorrected. I was now the kid who is way too skinny, orthorexic, afraid to eat a carbohydrate, dizzy all the time, every time I stood up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I experimented with every diet like keto, fasting, paleo, everything you could ever imagine. And I think throughout most of my 20s, I had a super unhealthy relationship with food. But just through a lot of like cognitive behavioral therapy, experimentation with myself, I've been able to build like just like the best relationship with food that I have, just like great discipline, but also a lot of balance. And I think that's like the key to my nutrition coaching is like striking that perfect balance between discipline, building healthy habits, but also allowing yourself that like kind of reprieve from discipline so that you can enjoy life. Because let's be frank, food is one of the best parts of life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a way to build that relationship with food.
Yeah.
So I started, I took the CrossFit nutrition course and I started becoming a nutrition coach for many athletes around the gym. And so that was kind of the final income stream. So again, it goes to group classes, it goes personal training, facilities manager, programming, and nutrition coaching. So it's like 5 balls that I'm trying to juggle. And admittedly, like this kind of juggling act I'm doing right now comes with its challenges, right? Like it totally does. I don't have a 9 to 5. I'm working sometimes 7 days a week. Like don't feel bad for me. It's not like I'm working
Yeah.
7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every night, right? Like it's here and there, but I'm often 7 days a week, either coaching or programming. Maybe my career doesn't make as much as someone in the finance industry, but I do make enough to make a comfortable living right now, right? To afford my bills, groceries, rent, a vacation once a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes with just like having to be disciplined and keep all this kind of stuff organized, right? And I know that at any time this role could just be done. I'm not saying like our gym's doing great, but like if Reza and Paul decided like, hey, we're just going to close our gym one day, I don't have a job anymore, right?
Sure.
Or one day I wake up and all my friends don't want a nutrition coach anymore, or they're like, I figured it out, Sam. I don't need accountability anymore, or we're going to a different gym. So it's like one of those things where you're not always on edge, but you recognize that your job is could be very temporary. And so
Mm-hmm.
it keeps me motivated to always be better and find different ways to provide value to my clients and how can I help them achieve their dreams and goals. And so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And like I think this year was like the first year that I sat down with my partner and I was like, I truly feel like this is a full-time thing now. Like this is I've I I've done it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I still have dreams and goals, but for the most part, I've created some stability in my life that just feels really good. And I know that's not the case for a lot of coaches. They want to create that full-time job. But the bottom line is that it often you have like this perception of what a full-time coach is, that you're just coaching group classes all day. And the reality is it's not like that at all. It's completely different. It's like you hustling to find different avenues to provide value to people. And then hopefully in return, you're able to create a life that you can sustain yourself kind of financially.
And I'm guessing like if you had to like 50-50 on one side was the affiliate owner says like, hey Sam, we want you to do these things, versus like you saying, hey, because you said like it's an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur within a business, so you're being an entrepreneur, right? You have to be like, you have to take the responsibility to say, if I want to do this thing full time, it's my responsibility to make it happen for me, which is not selfish. It's saying, okay, and especially you're like, I'm going to do it by providing value to others. So how much of it for you, like, because I'm going to guess it's a lot more swayed towards you have to be proactive and make the role for yourself. And if you can do it in a way that provides value to everyone, then the affiliate owner is going to be like, I'm be silly not to.
Yeah, totally. Right. It's like, it's finding that balance. And I think, I've been lucky in the sense that I guess I'm coming from a position where I've mostly been a pessimist most of my life, right? Like, woe is me. Like, why isn't life giving me this? Why isn't life giving me that? And ultimately, and unfortunately, that doesn't help you, right? So coming into this, I knew that I would have to take responsibility for my future and not rely on chance or someone else giving me something, and that I would have to figure it out on my own. And kind of going into that mindset of like, hey, at every opportunity, even if it's outside my comfort zone, I need to kind of chase it. Right.
Mhm.
So what's perfect is the guys were great in those initial stages, and still they give me opportunities, right? They brainstorm with me like, hey Sam, maybe you could do this, maybe you could do that, or I have this client that they might want this from you, right? So it's like when these guys give me the opportunity, I pounce on it, but it's also up to me to kind of think outside the box of like, okay, how can I grow myself within the gym, within the community, and take responsibility for my own career. Um, and so it's like, yeah, again, it's hard. It's like 50-50 finding the balance, but ultimately just taking the responsibility on myself that no one's here to save me. This is something you wanted, Sam. So someone's not going to give it to you. You got to go get it yourself.
Mhm.
And that means a lot of, it means a lot of hard work. And it means a lot of like being disciplined and reframing your thinking of what you thought it would be and what it isn't. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's that's kind of the approach I've taken to it all.
Well, I mean, I think exactly. It provides the insight of what it takes to do this thing. And either way, it's just like you said, it's like it's just not going to be handed to you
Yeah,
because we're and because the affiliate landscape is an owner operator style business, right? It's a
yeah,
little different than say there's a few instances where someone might own multiple locations, but they probably also own multiple businesses outside of those locations as well. But in a business where, especially like Paul and Rez are both in there every day because they love it, like it can be hard to want to step in and do those things. But sometimes you have to go in and get them out of the way as well, like for the best of the business. So, how do you guys navigate that kind of bit?
hmm. Yeah, I think it's like y- Rez and Paul have created such a great community here, and I think they trust me. I think like they
Right.
wholeheartedly trust me now. Um, I'm like, I think I don't want to speak selfishly or egotistical, but I feel like I'm truly well respected here.
Yeah.
I've given the last 5 years of my life to this gym, and I wouldn't change it. Um, I spend most of my time here. I know the community inside out. I know everybody, and so I think they've kind of given me the freedom to build that career inside of the gym, and they trust that the decisions I'm making or the things that I'm chasing are right for the gym. Now, of course, there's always a conversation to be had. It's not my gym. I'm not the affiliate owner.
Yeah.
So it's always one of those things where, hey, I'll sit down with Rez and Paul. This is what I'm thinking of doing. Is this a good idea? Can I do this? And as long as it's not going to affect their business negatively, usually they're all for it. You know what I mean? So it's just about like becoming a leader within your community. I think once you become a leader, both the members and your bosses, your affiliate managers will start to trust you, and you have a little bit more leeway to navigate that gym, whether it's building new income streams or trying new coaching styles in class, stuff that works, stuff that doesn't work, or doing things outside of the gym. So the big thing is, yeah, become a leader within your gym, and if you can become a leader within the gym, everyone's going to trust you, and they'll trust that kind of the decisions you're making are the right ones.
Hmm. This may seem like we're shifting gears slightly, but I
It's okay.
hopefully can tie it in a little bit because so you, as part of your own personal income stream, you offer individualized programming.
Correct.
However, you guys are still very much a group class first focused business as well, right? So
Yeah.
how do those two things exist? Because there are companies out in the CrossFit landscape that teach trainers how to do individualized programming, but a lot of that individualized programming pulls people away from the nucleus of group classes and CrossFit and whatnot. So how have you found a way to manage those worlds, and how do they complement each other?
Yeah. So the bottom line, like the culture is class is king. Class is priority. Doesn't matter if you're a games athlete, it's your first time, class is king. So when it comes to individualized programming, everyone has different goals, right? Whether it's to like, hey, I want to train for a high rocks, I want to compete at CrossFit semifinals, I want to get better at running, I want to get better at gymnastic skills. The bottom line is that class is king. So, we follow CrossFit affiliate programming.
Mm.
And whenever I'm programming, the number one priority each day is you're doing class, right? Class is where you find community. Class is where you find intensity. Class is where you find consistency, discipline, motivation, all that great stuff, right? So when you come to me and you ask me, hey, like these are my goals, blank, 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 the answer is great. I would love to help you achieve that. The bottom line is that if we're going to do all this programming, we're still going to focus on class. And all the coaches here, we all do class, right? It's the first thing I'll do because I need to be coached and we all need to be coached. And the problem is with individualized programming, oftentimes you're doing that by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And, it might be the most effective programming in the world. It may not be, but the reality is you're not getting coached. I mean, maybe I'm there to help coach you, but the reality is most of the time I'm not there. And so you're not getting coached. So the big thing is class is king. You're going to do class and then you can do all your extra work later. Right. And then it's kind of tempering like, hey, we know that like intensity over volume, like that's something that's really important. So trying to like strike a delicate balance between like, hey, Sam, I want to improve my rankings in the CrossFit Open next year. Okay, well, let's sit down and like, where were your gaps? And so we're going to kind of sprinkle in some extra work that's not too crazy in volume. Maybe it's twice a week, maybe it's 3 times a week where you're doing extra weakness work, right? Whether it's handstand push-ups, it's running, it's engine work, right? So you're not like your intensity is not being blunted in class, and you're still able to push as hard as in class, but you have extra time. You love doing this fitness thing in a safe, very effective manner. You're just getting a little extra dose of weakness work or CrossFit work that you truly enjoy, right?
Mm.
So, whether, like I said, my athlete who's competing in semifinals next weekend, he does class every day, right? It might be scaled differently to his goals. It might be scaled up, it might be scaled down based on the volume he's doing that week, but he's going to do class first, and then we'll worry about all the other stuff. So that's kind of the culture that we have around the gym when it comes to extra programming. And I think it works. I truly do.
I mean, clearly, and I think the best way is that, I mean, yes, your athlete's results are king, but it's like, it's the culture that is created within the gym, right?
Yep.
Because, and you said it, and I love that you said it, like that word culture, I don't think is used enough because we always say communities, right? Like my CrossFit Aurelia community, the NCR community, all of our affiliates communities, we would all say are amazing. But that can be an anchor that could potentially pull you down if you're not analyzing what is the culture of your gym or the culture of your community.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is a culture of there's 4 people doing a class and then Steve's in the corner doing his thing, Joanne's over doing her thing, Brittany's over there, and it's like people in the class are having to ask to use something that someone who's not in, like that's not a strong culture.
No,
Doesn't matter how
no.
fit those people are in each corner.
No, totally. And it's like, it happens in any gym, right? Some people just like to do their own thing. They're lone wolves, or they believe that their personalized programming is better than the class. And like, hey, who am I to change your mind? Like the reality is that we all have different beliefs and values. And I'm not going to try to change someone's core beliefs and values. I believe in what I believe. And I believe that the class is the most effective way for like long-term success. And it's the most fun way to do CrossFit. right? And so I'm admittedly pretty stern. Like, if we're back squatting today, you're not on the rig. Like, if you're doing your own thing and you want to do pull-ups, I'm sorry. Like, our priority right now is our athletes back squatting. Totally. At the end of class, if there's space, go for it. If we have a small class and there's spots over by the side for you to do pull-ups, absolutely do your pull-ups. I have no problem with that. But if in any way it interferes with the class, I'm of the opinion that we're going to have to push your personalized program to the side. I'd love for you to jump into my class. Maybe we can modify this workout some way to help you achieve your goals, even if it's like modifying the movement, the rep scheme, the load. I'm cool with that. Just hop into the class. I would love for you to do that. But if that's still not in the cards, no sweat. We'll revisit your pull-ups after the class is done. It's kind of the approach I take, and I try to be kind about it and compassionate about it.
Sure.
Because we're all going through stuff. But yeah, that's the big thing. And like, we have new people walk into the gym every day, like, hey, I've heard of CrossFit. Like, what is this thing? And my favorite thing to tell them is that, like, hey, today we're doing deadlifts. I'll have an athlete who's deadlifting 500 pounds. In the same class, I have an 89-year-old named Avril who's deadlifting 35 pounds off the ground. And they do the same workouts. Okay. Like, it doesn't matter if you're the best in the world, you've never lifted a weight in your life. If you're 89 or you're 27 in your prime, we're all going to work out together. We're all going to work out equally as hard. And that's the cool thing about it. And when people see that, they see that, like, that contrast of like our 89-year-old Avril, like, doing a burpee. And then you see like a 27-year-old just ripping burpees over the bar, doing like a burpee muscle up. It's like jarring to them. It's like, whoa, like, these people are doing the same workout program. I'm like, yeah. And we're going to coach it that way. So they both feel wonderful and they both get the same results from this workout. And so, yeah.
We had, I don't know how you guys schedule it, but we do cap as well. We had Kelly today.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah. And I worked out next to a fella named Blake, and I don't know if Blake's in his late 70s or early 80s, 7 a.m. class, and admittedly, like, one of my coaches one time was like, why isn't Blake in the Legends class, which is our senior specific class? I'm like,
yeah,
because he doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
Right. And like, but then at the end, we're all just kind of like getting cooling down, and Blake just came over and said, hey, he's like, I know I've thanked you before, but he's like, I just want to thank you again. Like, this has changed my life.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's like, yeah. And it's like, great. It's like validating that. And I just tell him, I was like, it's validating to the program. And I'm not saying CrossFit Aurelia, like CrossFit as a program, that all the things we know to be true. But I think upon just reflecting on it, it's like, I wasn't coaching him and he came and said that. I was next to him working out, trying to give him tips along the way, like, move your butt first, Blake.
Yeah.
But because I wasn't doing class as much as I could have. And I've since, in doing this podcast and talking to affiliate owners and coaches, I'm like, man, I need to get my ass back into class.
Yeah,
it's like,
totally.
And it just goes back to, I guess, what I'm saying long-windedly is like, the answers to the test are in the book.
Yep. 100%. And we all get pulled away from them, right? It's like when you read a self-help book or any book, like, at first you're like, this is the key to life. Like, this is the answer, And then over time that information fades, right? Like, it's not as relevant in your mind. You stop those best practices. So just like class, right? Like, you're like, this is the way to do it. Like, this is the way. And then, stuff happens, the open rolls around and you're trying to like peak for that. And you get away from class and you're like, I don't feel the same. Like, I'm missing my friends, like all this kind of stuff. Right. So you go through this period where you're reminded, whether it's like, talking to affiliate owners, like, hey, class is great. And you're like, oh yeah, I got to get back into this. And I had a very similar moment to you today. We did Kelly this morning, and it was my father's 65th birthday. So my parents came into the gym to hit the workout with us, and it's like, it wasn't a seniors class. It was just like, everyone's doing the class together. We got mothers, we got my parents, we've got young kids doing it. And, like, it doesn't matter what the workout is. My parents scaled it or you do it as prescribed. And like, we all finish at the exact same time and everyone's suffering just as much, but we're all experiencing the same level of gratitude and joy because we did this workout together. It was fun. I was like, I didn't care about my score. I got to work out with my dad. Like, that was awesome, So it's moments like that in class that kind of fire you up about CrossFit again and remind you like why you do it, because I'm hard on myself. You do a workout, you do poorly, or it doesn't go as planned. You're like, why am I even doing this? Like, I'm a loser. Like, I'm not fit, blah, 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 blah. And then, the next day you work out with your friends and, maybe you don't do well at all, but like you got
Yeah.
to just hang with people, or someone's like, hey, Sam, thanks for that tip. Like it changed the way I move, or I PR today. And like, that's the reason we do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And in this kind of journey, it's like we had a packed class, and one of the members who's honestly been here since day one, she's probably 14-year member, doing sit-ups. Gym is completely quiet, and her sit-up was making a farting noise. And it's like, then so I kind of knew this member, and I was like, excuse you. And even just those lighthearted moments, you can be depriving yourself of by thinking that you can work out on your own better or faster or different or anything like that. So, but I think, what you nailed earlier is like, it's still about being, when we say classes, like it's about being professional, of knowing that like, this is our product, this is what we do. I live by my product by doing it as well as standing in front. And that's how
Yeah.
you get buy-in and trust.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and being a professional is hard sometimes, right? Like I want to garner respect from my athletes and community members, and I want to do it in a way where they still like me, they still appreciate me, but they're still having fun. Like
Mhm.
I think sometimes I perceive myself as coming across as a bit of maybe like a hard ass, or someone who really follows kind of the methodology and there's a right way to do things, and maybe I can be sometimes stubborn in the way I coach and approach things. But I'm trying to relax a bit and remind myself that yes, there's this element of being a professional and making sure people move well and they squat below parallel and they reach full extension, but also that like these are normal people just like I am, that might be having
Mhm.
a trash day, or they're just here to sweat, man, because life's getting them down and they just need to move today. So I think as I continue to evolve as a coach, that's like kind of where I'm really trying to focus my attention to, is how can I get that perfect balance where I'm being a professional coach, I'm making sure they move better, I'm making sure they get max intensity, but I'm also making sure that like, hey, they're actually enjoying this and they're going to come back.
Yeah,
And sometimes that can be one of the hardest parts of coaching.
absolutely. So what's next for you? What's the next thing on your journey? Is it booking the level 4? Is it
Yeah, well,
going
are
to
they doing?
international games, or
I don't know if they're doing level fours right now. Are they? And if they do, like,
the
frankly, like,
program is being restructured, but they're
okay,
on hold currently. Yeah.
whatever that means. I think me, Res, and PT would love a shot at getting an L4 if we could. Like,
Yeah.
I think if it's restructured and we can, take some time to. I don't know if we need to prepare. I think like we're truly ready to do it if we needed to on any given day. I truly do.
Yeah.
But just like if you're training for a half marathon, you want to get a little bit of extra reps in. So the L4 would be good. Seminar staff is always on the radar. That's something I've been interested in. And then I have, I'm going to be coaching an athlete again at the NorCal Classic in June. And then
So you're going out
beyond,
there to do it. You're
yeah,
going out there to
yeah,
coach. Cool.
yeah,
Cool.
I'm going to do it. I mean, like, again, like the reason I got into it was to be able to coach high level athletes. So, qualified for it. Why wouldn't I go out there and do it? It's
Yeah.
just like, I love being in that environment. And, yeah, it's just like it's kind of just like living out my dreams. It's a little part of a dream. It's a very small step, but it's still a part of it. So I just want to appreciate it and take it in and get that opportunity to do it. Beyond that, I'm not sure, right? Like I know long-term goals one day, I'd love to be an affiliate owner myself. I'd love to continue to change lives, whether it's through nutrition, coaching, programming. And so, for a big chunk of my 20s, I was always like, what's next? I need more. I need more. I got to be better. I got to get a promotion, this.
Hmm.
And I think for now, I'm just very content with where I'm at with life. Like
That's
I love my job. I love my partner. I have a beautiful dog. I love my family. I love my lifestyle. It's very simple. I wake up every morning at 5 a.m. I train from like 7 to 9. I coach the rest of the day. I come home, I eat dinner, I walk my dog, and I go to bed early. And to most people, that would seem like a boring life, but there's something so awesome about like simplicity and and routine that I'm really, really enjoying right now in this part of my life. So yes, I have dreams to do different stuff, but for now, I'm just very content with where I'm at. So I'll just take it day by day. Whatever challenge life throws at me, I'll take it head on, and yeah, that's about it.
And on that note, 3, 2, 1, time.